Hey everyone, this is Nathas, and I'm going to be opening a Solforge Fusion Demo Kit today. So, this is a Solforge Fusion Demo Kit. For anyone who doesn't know, when Solforge came out, Stoneblade sent out some demo kits to a bunch of stores to let them try out the game Solforge Fusion. So I was able to get my hands on a few, and luckily today I'm going to be opening one of those up. So a demo kit is very similar to a Kickstarter kit. So it has 4 decks from the Kickstarter set, as well as it has some paper playmats and some tokens, which you'll see when I actually open up the demo kit itself. But like I said, these were provided to stores in order to kind of get people into the game, and I'm opening one for you guys today. So before I open it, this is kind of what the back looks like. So again, this is very similar to a typical Solforge starter kit for Kickstarter. So it's got 4 unique half decks, one from each faction. It's got 2 paper playmats. It's got 12 minion cards, including 4 Kickstarter alternate art minions, which I'll show you guys. And then it's got a bunch of the mini tracker health cards. Yeah, so let's get into it. All right. So demo kits are a lot of fun to open, so I'm really excited I get to open one today. All right, so the first thing here, which we're going to go through, is the minion pack. So the minion pack has the Kickstarter minions, which you'll know that they're the Kickstarter set because they have the promo symbol as well as they have the Kickstarter art. So the first minion we'll see is a Kickstarter Wisp. On the other side, you'll see the Kickstarter Oakfather. So this is an alternate art minion that comes either in Kickstarter or in the demo kits. Then it has some of the regular Wisps as well that everyone's used to seeing out of the normal starter kits. We have the alternate art Spell Sprite, which transforms into the alternate art Spell Swarm. And then we have the typical Spell Sprite token. We have an alternate art Mindless Zombie, which transforms into an alternate art Zombie Brute. We have the normal, for anyone who hasn't seen it. And finally, we have the alternate art Gizmo, which transforms into the alternate art Mega Gizmo. And then here is a normal Gizmo. So each normal starter kit will come with 3 of each minion, but specifically the demo decks or the Kickstarter kits will have 1 of each of the Kickstarter minions in the minion pack as well. So in addition to that, it has the little tracker packet for the power and toughness that comes in the typical alpha starter kits. So the Kickstarter starter kits actually include the minions as well as some larger cards that only come in the Kickstarter set. So the demo kit's almost, the demo kit's almost like a fusion between Kickstarter and alpha in that sense. It's got 2 of the paper playmats, which are the same paper playmats that are in the normal starter kits. I'll show you what that looks like. So this is great for 2 people who want to play who don't have mats. And then finally, we have 4 decks, 1 from each faction. So let me get the box out of the way, and we'll get opening these decks. All right, so we get 1 deck from each faction when we open this, and as well, when you actually look at the other side, because this is a starter kit, you have 2 forges, which you'll get the same forges whether it's alpha or Kickstarter. You'll have 1 keyword card, and you'll get 1 random minion. So if it's a Kickstarter set or a demo set, you'll get a Kickstarter minion here. If it's an alpha set, you'll just get a normal minion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open all 4, and we're going to look at the level 3s of those cards. So we're going to start with the Utera deck. All right, so first we have a Glowhive Siren, a Hibernating Wartusk. Ooh, a Betrayer Lucid Echoes. That's a cool one, especially in Utera. We've got a Might of the Herd, a Nap Time, a Primal Surge, a Regenerating Bartok, a Shardplate Delver, a Stout Basher, a Stout Mantis. All right, so these are the level 3s. So I'm going to lay these all out before we look at the Forgeborn. Oop. I did that a little awkwardly. Here we go. So looking at this deck, there's some interesting life gain synergy. There's not as much as I would like on this Lutera side, but you have a Glowhive Siren, which gains life when it enters, as well as a Nap Time, which lets you gain life when you play it. Now, if you gain life, you could play your Primal Surge for free, which could be a nice little extra amount of damage, extra armor to keep something alive. Now, in terms of the dinos, we only have 2 dinos here for Might of the Herd, but Might of the Herd can still be a nice, aggressive card, because if you don't have the Forge, and you have a big creature, like let's say I play the Hibernating Wartusk, I could play a Might of the Herd to give it aggressive, and even though I'm not giving it the extra plus power and defense, you're still going to be able to push a ton of damage that your opponent might not be planning for. So this is an interesting deck, and then on top of that, you have a Lucid Echoes. So Lucid Echoes is a card that I'm actually going to show all 3 levels of. Oops, I went too far. There we go. So Lucid Echoes is a card that actually lets you upgrade cards in your hand and then deal damage equal to the number of level 2 and 3 cards in your upgrade pile, or sorry, in your discard pile. So this is an awesome piece of removal that also lets you upgrade your cards in your deck that you wouldn't normally be able to play. So depending on what deck you're playing with, this can help you remove creatures that you normally wouldn't be able to remove, and it will help you upgrade cards in your hand. Then the other thing I'll mention is Stout Mantis. So Mantises are always great because they let you use your Forgeborn abilities more than once. So the level 2 lets you use level 1 lets you use your level 2 Forgeborn, your level 2 lets you use the level 3 Forgeborn, and your level 3 lets you use your level 4 Forgeborn ability. So there's a couple Forgeborn that you could really abuse the abilities, and that's where Mantis could come in very strong. So this is a very unique deck. It's something that I'll definitely have to find a good pairing for, especially because of the Betrayer Lucid Echoes, as well as the Mantis and some of that life gain synergy. All right, and now let's really quickly look at the Forgeborn. So this is a Nova. So the Nova has a Nova's Might level 2, a Nova's Touch level 3, and a Nova's Domain level 4. So this could definitely be an interesting Forgeborn, depending on what I pair it with. Nova could be a good option just because it lets you pump your creatures, it lets you replace something during cycle 3, and then it also gets you Oak Fathers at the end of the game to help push damage at the end. So this could be a pretty aggressive deck if it's played right with the right type of pairing. So this is one I'm definitely excited to kind of see how that goes. So that is the first deck we got. All right, so the next, I'm going to open the Tempest deck. And one thing that I forgot to mention as well is that for Kickstarter sets, all the symbols are purple and green to designate rare or common. So your purples are your rares, your greens are your commons, where in your alpha cards, you basically will see blue and yellow instead. So that's one of the other things about Kickstarter is that you will have alternate art rarity symbols. All right. So we're starting with an Asir Mech Mage, Burnout, Everflame Phoenix, Inflaming Invocust, Lightning Spark, Pyre Song, Scorchbane Dragon, Stone Skin, Turnabout, Undeady. So this is an interesting deck. So let me lay this one out. So right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spells, which is great because a lot of times when you're playing Tempest, you want to be playing spell heavy decks. Now the interesting thing with this is we have both an Invokist and a Mech Mage. So both of these let you deal damage if you've played spells as an activated ability. So both of these, with the spell quality and spell count that's in this deck, can be very, very strong. Now, the Scorchmane being able to deal damage to the creatures, Stone Skin being able to let you do damage to creatures, mixed with Pyre Song that could destroy stuff that has decreased health. There's a lot of really good cards in this deck that I think can be very, very aggressive. The one thing that's missing in the main deck is the ability to play free spells, but this is the kind of deck that I might pair with a Necrom deck that lets me play free spells with something like a Blight Witch or a Spite Maiden. Now, I might have a good Forgeborn that will let me do that as well. So let's see what Forgeborn we have. Let's just get this out of the way. But this is a deck I could definitely see myself trying to play in a competitive setting based on all of the spray damage and damage that you could get off of your creatures. So we do have a Sunder, and it's a pretty good Sunder for this deck as well. So it's missing Gathering Storm, but it has a Summon the Swarm, a Stem Bolt, and an Ice Armor. So at cycle 3, I'll be able to potentially chain multiple spells using Stem Bolt during one of the turns to be able to play extra spells to deal damage, and then use my Mech Mage or my Invokist to try to deal some extra damage as well. So this is definitely a fun deck that I am very excited to pair very soon. All right. Let's see the next one. I'll save the Necrom for last. Now we're in the land. We've got a Bright Steel Sentinel, a Force Field, a Forge Plate Yeti, an Orion Battle Droid, a Palladium Simulacrum, a Protective Warden, a Rallying Virtuoso, Tech Upgrade, a Venerable Justicar, War Machine. All right. So this is also actually a pretty interesting deck. I would say on a power scale, this is probably a little less powerful than the other two I've opened, but there are some really cool synergies here. So the first thing is there's quite a few robots. So there's 4 robots in the deck. The Bright Steel Sentinel lets you give other robots armor, or all of your robots armor, including itself. Then your Forge Plate Yeti lets you deal damage to a creature equal to the number of armor that you have. So Forge Plate Yeti could be not only a card that's resilient because of the armor that's built into it, but it could also deal damage and remove stuff on the board that you normally wouldn't be able to remove. And actually, did I miscount? There's 1, 2, 3. There's 5 robots, not 4. We also have a Rallying card. So Rallying is a very strong ability because if you replace another one of your creatures with it, you'll give everything a buff. So 2, 2, 3, 3, and then at level 3, you'll give +4/+4. Now, there's only one scientist here, which for tech upgrade, you really want to have more than one to really get the benefit from it. That being said, tech upgrade could still be a strong card because it's removal or upgrade ability, or it can really give you a lot of benefits. It's very flexible. And then the last thing here is Palladium Simulacrum is a great card. There's not a ton of mobility synergy here. Like obviously you have the Protective Warden, which again, because of the robot synergy, you can buff it almost every time you play it, most likely if you have other robots on the field. But there's 2 mobility cards where Palladium Simulacrum can be really strong with the mobility factor. It's something where you could have a great synergy in the deck, then you could have Simulacrum to just be an extra little poke to the face because of how much power it can get with all the mobility tricks you can do. So this is definitely a very interesting deck. I would say I'm more likely to play the other 2 I've opened so far over this one, but this has some interesting synergies that I'm definitely going to be happy to experiment with. All right. Now let's look at the Forgeborn. We got Ironbeard. So Ironbeard, this one has a Reinforce at level 2, a Knockback at level 3, and an Intimidate at level 4. So Ironbeard is a Forgeborn that I would say is not super, super powerful during set 1, but it's going to get a lot of better abilities during set 2. That's going to make Ironbeard significantly more playable when you open him in future sets. So he's a card that I'm very looking forward to opening once I see some of the upgraded versions in set 2. All right, now finally there's one more deck, which is our Necrom deck. We're going to start with a Circe's Call, a Corrupt Fiend, a Darkheart Sorcerer, a Gloom Reaper Hag, Grave Pact, a Hibernating Reaper, an Ossuary Mech, a Sigmund Fraud, a Stout Patron, Xeris Will. Alright. So there's some really cool cards in this deck. Let me get this to focus a little better. There we go. Yeah, so there's some really cool cards in this deck, but I would say it's a little bit unfocused for what I would want to do with it. So first of all, Circe's Call is one of my favorite cards in Necrom, just because based on the number of spells that were played in the turn, you can get either mindless zombies or zombie brutes, but level 3 is always going to be free, so it's a card that's so worth playing early on, because you're going to be guaranteed to basically get at least one free brute when you play it on cycle 3. I've gotten it as many as 5, just because me and my opponent were playing a lot of extra spells. So this card can be a game changer, and it's one that's always awesome to see. Now, Darkheart is such a good card in Necrom right now, just because there's a lot of ways to play free spells in set 1, and from what I understand, set 2 is going to be the same way. So being able to cheat out free spells while also dealing damage and gaining life, it could just gain you so much advantage. Now, this deck only has 3 total spells: Circe's Call, Grave Pact, and then Xeris Will. Where Xeris Will is a great card if you have other life gain abilities in addition to your Darkheart. So this deck doesn't have a ton of ways to gain life on its own. The Xeris Will, sometimes you're going to have to play it without getting it for free, where when you've gained life, you play it for free. So it's like you almost need to pair this with a life gain heavy deck to get your most advantage of it. That being said, Sigmund Fraud can synergize so well with Circe's Call, where if you can load the board with zombies and then play the Sigmund Fraud to when you're off Forge to give everything aggressive and extra power, that could potentially win you the game. But again, there's no other zombies in here that can really help you out. But there is removal. There are some strong creatures that have high power. So this can be a very interesting deck. And then one other thing that's actually very interesting is your Hibernating Reaper does synergize very well with your Darkheart Sorcerer. So whenever you play a spell, it'll deal 5 damage to a player. If you have your Reaper out, it will also give your Darkheart additional power. So I really enjoy playing Reapers with Shamblers, or other ways that I could deal direct damage to the face, like the Assailing ability in Tempest. But anything that I could do that will just let me cheat out spells or cheat out damage that I could then give additional power to deal damage to my opponent would just be a really awesome ability. So this is an interesting deck. It's nothing I would say to super write home about, but there's a lot of really cool cards that I would be very happy to play in. Like if I open this in a sealed pool, I'll be very happy to play this. But if I'm trying to play in a super competitive match, this one might not be as synergized as I would like. So let's see what our Forgeborn is for this one. So it is a Nyx. So let me get these out of the way. All right. So this Nyx has an Army of the Damned level 2, a Raising Dead level 3, and a Soul Rip level 4. So there are ways to play minions in this deck. So it's like you can kind of load the board with your mindless zombies during cycle 1 and 2 using Cersei's Call, Zeraswil, and so on. Cycle 3, if you could have a lot of minions on the board, you could then pump all of your minions using Raising Dead. So like this could be an interesting Forgeborn for a minion-based deck with what's in this deck already. Then Soul Rip lets you destroy one of your creatures to play a creature for free. So it's like if you have something where you want to play your Gloom Reaper Hag, so you could sacrifice it to gain life, that could be a nice little synergy. And I would say Soul Rip is really cool when you have a Shambler out as well, because it lets you deal damage and gain life just by activating your ability and playing another card for free. So these are the 4 decks that I opened. I would say this was definitely a cool demo kit. I was able to get a Betrayer, get a couple really strong decks that I'm excited to play. So yeah, this was definitely a successful opening. So I have a bunch more sealed products, so I'll probably be posting a bunch more openings soon. So I would say follow my channel if you're interested in this type of content, and I usually stream at least a few times a week on my Twitch channel. So you could find a link to my Twitch on my YouTube profile as well. So thank you for tuning in, and until next time.